to Catch the Craze. We are the heart of the industry.
Catch the Craze in the house. No doubt. So check the flow, cause you know I got soul. The name is Catch the Craze, baby. So act like you know what's called Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. The one originator, the crazy creator. Giving you a fever with my boy Dreamer Medina. Weekly all the time with the newest and the best. Independence from the north, the south, east, and west. You got the SSS and the devils that are silent. Kiss me comics cause it ain't all about violence. Neat stuff collects and the brothers, the Dables. Crazy comics in the house are willing and able. The underground sounds from hip hop to rock. Jamming on the saxophone is my boy Philip Clark. Cause keeps it going cause you know I got to flow. The name is Uncle Sam. Act like you know, act like you know. Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. Yeah. I'm bugging out, baby. Catch the Craze. Spread the word, have you heard?
Welcome to Catch the Craze Audio Mix. I am your host with the most. This is Sam the Crazy Man Barra.
And this is Jonathan the Psycho Sci-Fax.
Sci-Fax. And today we have a very special guest on, later on today in the show. It's Ryan McLelland of Newsarama. He's a staff writer at Newsarama and many other news-related web portals. We met Ryan last year at the Indie After Party, the first annual from the New York City Comic-Con in New York City at the Twins Pub. Yeah, boy. And he was also, actually reviewed There's Nailing in My Toilet on Newsarama and gave it a really good review. Thank you. Thank you. Well, now Ryan is joining the ranks of comic book creators in the industry. I'll have to get you with my annihilator. And he has a book coming out, and we're going to talk about that later on to the end of the show. So besides that, what happened recently? The New York City Comic Book Spectacular. I wasn't able to attend, but the Psycho Sci-Fax and Medina did. How did it go?
It was pretty decent. I mean, it was a good flow of individuals coming through in relation to the amount of independence that was there. It's a small area, relatively small venue. So, it was a decent turnout for that type of venue. Sales wasn't necessarily the strongest there because, again, it's not like a main convention debut. But it was pretty good. It was pretty decent.
Everything with the Psycho was dollars and cents. This guy, everything's about money. Money.
Well, you asked me how it go.
Dang. What about fun and meeting people and having friends? There's no such thing.
No, it was nice meeting people.
We gotta make money.
And we
gotta make money.
But there wasn't such a turnout where we met any new individuals that we had not, that aren't already loyal fans of the title
of the Craze.
We didn't get necessarily a large new readership.
That's because it's the New York Comic Book Spectacular. The name is bigger than the event. It's in a ballroom within the Holiday Inn, and Primary Promotions. I'm sure they don't have the capital to go crazy for a small event, like that, So, it's a good show. It turns out 100 or so, or maybe a couple hundred people, but it's a good show for what it is because it's an opportunity for the locals to all get together and hang out. And did you guys go out afterwards, or did you guys just go home?
Well, I had to go to the job. I had to go to work after, but the crew hung out. David and George and them hung out.
George usually runs home afterwards. He doesn't like hanging with the boys. He likes hanging with the girls, but it's a tradition. So I'm glad he actually represented for me because I had to work and I was working from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. So I got stuck working. So I'm glad he represented for the crew.
Well, it's pretty cool. It wasn't bad. It was pretty hip. We saw a lot of the cool guys in the industry,
Yeah.
So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty hot.
Yeah, so another thing that's going on right now was the Ninja Turtles came out on Friday.
Yes.
And I'm going to go see it. Then we'll talk about our review and wrap up of the Ninja Turtles. I'm dying to see it. I've always been a turtle fan. I love being a turtle. Anyway, so
Now that's a fan, y'all.
that's a fan, baby.
That is a fan and a half.
Teenage Mutant Ninja
That's a-
Turtles. Heroes
is-
in the half
this
shell.
is-
Turtle power. That world's most fearsome fighting team.
This is pretty scary, y'all. I
They're
gotta tell you,
heroes in the half shell and they green.
y'all gotta stop them.
Leonardo's cool but rude. Michelangelo is the party dude. Cowabunga. Anyway, why you covering your eyes, dude? Come on. You know that was hot.
That
When
was
that
hot,
came
yeah.
out,
That was true. That was up there.
everybody was being a turtle out in the park. I mean, as soon as you watched the cartoon, you ran to the park and you wanted to be. You got your nunchucks and
You had the turtle costume?
the costume. Costume? Yes, I had turtle Fruit Looms.
Oh, snap.
Yes, man.
Oh,
My turtles were covered by the turtles.
No ish.
No ish. And you know this, man. Oh man, I love that.
man.
And then when Vanilla Ice came in, it almost killed it with ninja, rap, ninja.
I like that song though. I was doing my thing.
All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. Ice is back with a brand new invention. Something. Anyway, that's it. My reputation's gone. Sorry guys.
Uncle Sammy is hurt.
All right, I'll sing this one for George. I'll sing it because it's a block joint. Oh, just hanging top. Remember that? You know
I do.
Everybody, you
Unfortunately,
can't front.
I
If you
remember.
grew up in that time,
Unfortunately, I do,
everybody
yeah.
was singing "Hanging Tough." You
Hang your top.
hanging tough. You know, you hang
Oh,
your
good
top.
you say
Yeah, I
hang
was
your
singing,
top.
I was
What
singing that
is
to the
it?
girls. I was saying, hang your top, baby. Go ahead, hang that top on that boy. But you know, there was a time in your life when you were in that shower, or you were standing in front of the mirror, and you were saying, "Listen up, everybody, if you want to take a chance."
Well, you was. I wasn't. You gotta speak for yourself on that, kid. Because that wasn't the kid. That was not George.
Credibility down the drain.
Not the kid. I was singing Rakim. It wasn't no cool.
Yeah. Sing one.
What is it?
Yeah, because he don't sing, but sing it. Go ahead. If I want to hear you sing a rock cam joint.
Rakim?
Yeah, exactly. You see? Know the ledge. Come on.
Oh,
Spit
yeah.
the juice. I got enough
Enough
to go around. Yeah,
And my story takes place uptown. I grew up on the sidewalk with my street talk.
Oh.
I go from Queens to New York. Got the girls from Bruce together. His lyrics are so dynamic. It's hard to even put in a sentence without stumbling. I mean, I can't keep up with Rakim's lyrics. He's a mastermind.
Eric B.
He's
and
a
Rakim.
mastermind.
That was the time.
Yes.
But yeah, the Ninja Turtles. I mean, it's coming out. I can't wait to see it. I'm glad it's in CGI and
That's hot.
it's not live action. It looks great from the trailers and it's definitely caught my attention.
Who is your favorite turtle?
I love Splinter. I mean, Splinter was my favorite character.
He's a rat.
Huh?
He's a rat.
Right, but he's the man. Splinter was my favorite character.
Let me ask the question again. Maybe you missed it. Who was your favorite turtle?
I like Splinter.
This guy can never answer a question straight. My favorite turtle was the one with the attitude, my boy Donnie.
Yeah, I like Michelangelo. He's a party dude.
He was a party dude.
Yes.
He was a party. He always wanted to eat pizza.
Yes.
And then there was Raphael, Donatello, Leonardo
Da Vinci.
Michelangelo.
Chase.
Let's go down memory lane for
Yes.
people who have not followed the turtles. Raphael
All
had
alone in the moonlight.
the little like
Nothing
three
but a
prong.
little memory
Where you focus, man?
of the way we were.
Where you focus? What was the things that he had? The like 3-point knife
It's
that
called
Raphael had.
It's called dang, I know what it's called because it was used against me in a fight one day.
Oh my goodness!
It was some guy from Brooklyn.
He thought he was a turtle.
We
He
were,
thought he was Raphael.
we were at Lexington Avenue train station, and these guys from Brooklyn came up, and me and my brother, one of those guys had one of those things. I forgot what it was called. And he pulled that out and swung it around a bit. He didn't catch me with it. Good Lord, thank God. But when I saw that, I was like, help me, please. I was like, good Lord, that's big. And they said that thing goes through me, it's going through me. I said, can you put that away and just use your hands? I was like, can we lay down some ground rules here? Can we just like put away the really big, long weapons and just use fists?
Fisticuffs.
And he's like, come on. I was like, oh no.
And Donatello had the stick.
The what?
The stick.
You should be looking at his stick, right?
I know.
Cut it out. Right, this is
Leonardo had
PG.
the swords.
Yes.
He was nasty with the
Yeah.
swords. And
Nunchucks?
Nunchucks was
Nunchucks.
Michelangelo.
I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
But anyway, it was cool stuff.
You gotta know this stuff. You're a
You gotta
fan.
know. It's
You,
not
you
fair.
can't you can't have guessed this stuff. You're a fan.
I am a fan.
And you're not sure
Of
what
the
weapons
concept.
they use?
No.
What's wrong with that? Well, I'm pretty sure I'm right on that.
Yeah?
Yes.
Jace. Oh, one unfortunate thing, and I don't want to. It is unfortunate for the industry, but we all know that the community, the comic book community, as a whole, we lost a extremely talented creator. Arnold Drake passed away on March 12th, and he was an extremely talented comic book writer. And there's a lot of information on Arnold Drake on the website, but I'm just reading something right here. It says Arnold Drake, March 1st, 1924 to March 12th, 2007, was an American comic book writer best known for his work on DC Comics feature Dead Man, for which he was given the Bill Finger Award, and on DC series Doom Patrol. He also wrote issues of Marvel Comics X-Men in the 1960s and created the Guardians of the Galaxy with artist Gene Colan. Drake is also notable for creating It Rhymes with Lust, perhaps the first American graphic novel ever published. He received several awards for his comics work, including the 1967 Alley Award for Best Full-Length Story, Who's Been Lying in My Grave, in Strange Adventures number 205 with Carmen Infantino, and the 1967 Alley Award for Best New Strip Dead Man with Carmen Infantino in Strange Adventures. And that's just a little snippet of this talented man's career. We were fortunate enough to see Arnold Drake quite often at the Big Apple conventions. He was a regular there. And it was inspiring to see that from straight through the end that he was still committed to his craft and committed to his fans and wanted to be there, wanted to be part of the comic book medium, and you start to reflect on yourself and where what you want to do and where you want to be, and then it really makes you think a lot, because if you look at all the prior the originators, the masters, the ones who paved the way for us as we struggle to create a voice for ourselves and build some sort of notoriety or I guess a history of a timeline of what we were able to accomplish or what we want to accomplish. You look at these the heroes in the comic book medium, and you tend to, at least for me, I tend to really get lost in trying to research their lives and determine what was it that kept them motivated, what was it that kept them inspired to continue in a comic book world that is not often fun and games. It's not often where there's not too many success stories. There's a lot of I guess casualties along the way, and there's a lot of would-be's, and they just fall to the wayside. But then there's a few that continue. Then what sets them apart? Why would one receive the amount of accolades who've been in the industry for a lesser time, and one who has been in the industry for a lot longer, who's been involved in a lot more publications, a lot more projects, have what prevented one individual from achieving some of those accolades or achieving some of the success that someone else who just came out of nowhere and I guess hit the market with a catchy product or something that caught somebody's eye and received a lot of attention and might have gotten multimedia licenses, all that stuff. And you start thinking about it, and then and you start reflecting upon yourself and say, am I in this for self-gratification because I love it, or am I in this to achieve a certain amount of success out of this? And that's when you start looking at the creators of the world that get the Big Apple. I mean, it's the Big Apple is noted for a lot of really talented figures in the business that've been around for a long time, and have been, can teach just about any subject in comic books and have done so much, and you're around those individuals, and I didn't take full advantage.
Alan Moore is a prime example.
And I didn't take full advantage. I know personally I didn't take full advantage of trying to get some knowledge or from the likes of Arnold Drake or some of the other masters that are at these conventions. And because I think what happens in society is we're always looking for the new. We're always looking for the now. What's going on now? Who's hot now? But then when you have these great people that are there, right, and in front of you, are we taking advantage of that knowledge? It's a well of knowledge. It's a pool of knowledge. Are we learning from these individuals? Are we asking these questions? Are we paying homage to them while we have the chance to speak to them? You know what I mean? And I know that, he sat, I personally sat 2 tables away from him, and I really never had any conversation except for moving the table when he needed to get behind his table because there was no aisle space or no way to get, unless you crawled underneath your table, and our tables were connected, so I moved mine so he can have access. But that was it. I really never thought of it. You know what I mean?
Well, what I find is that a lot of the great writers are the unsung heroes. Unfortunately, in a sense of any creative medium that is out there, whether it be comics, novels, screenplays. It's like if you ask somebody to name the artist of DC or Marvel, they could tell you that right off the bat. You ask somebody who the director of the movie is, they could tell you. But you ask them who wrote the script, they gotta most of the time look that up. Who was the great writers of the golden age of Marvel? They have to look it up. Most people will not be able to tell you, but they could tell you the artists like that. So we tend not to appreciate the writers who really are kind of the nuts and bolts in a way of whatever creative venture that's out there, because at the end of the day, people are taking home a great story.
Right.
So,
it does make you want to think, and reflect and really say, hey, you know what? What is it? Why am I doing this? Do I know enough of it? Do I want to learn more? Am I, I guess, exposing myself more? It's just it's that point in life when you get to that crisis where you start thinking about where we are. And my condolences out to his family. And I know there's a lot of people.
Definitely.
There's a lot of people that cared for him and respected him and loved him and. He was a pioneer in the industry, and
definitely,
you want to look him up. You just type in his name, and there's just a well of information is out there, and
don't just look up information about him, but really try to go in the archives, go to the libraries, and see the work that he did. Yeah. It may look like. You look at work today, and it's kind of very glitz and glamour and kind of played up, and you may say, "Oh, that isn't really, let's say, up to the level of this or that." But when you look at the simple brilliance of these individuals, how you could see in the basic work that they really had the industry and understanding of storytelling and art to a science. They really understood the greatness of it, and really were great pioneers because they understood what each page had to tell the reader every time they saw a panel and read the dialogue within that panel.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure that he's in a happier place now, but and I know that he'll definitely be missed. I know there were a lot of continually, even at the conventions, there were fans that continue to come down to see him, and there were a lot of supporters, and he'll definitely be missed, and I'm sure that it's almost like you don't know what you have until it's gone, and I guess it did spark a lot of talk on the nets, and I know Dark Horse is re-releasing one of his old publications. It Rhymes with Lust, which was published in 1950, and Dark Horse is reissuing it this month. So
that's really cool.
So I guess it does create that trigger sparked that trigger where you decide, hey, let's go and research his life and learn more about this guy, because he was a pioneer, and he did. I guess he was ahead of his time, and you always wish for more for individuals like that, and you always wish for and it's comic books, and it's a tough industry. It's a tough industry.
Very tough industry.
And I guess it's a lot of it's who what you're working on, and timing. It's timing. Everything's timing. So God rest your soul, Arnold Drake. You'll definitely be missed, and
Definitely will.
I wish I would have taken advantage of the opportunity that I had to actually speak with you, and I guess that's something that I will regret, and hopefully not let it happen again. Because there's a lot of I know I saw Stan Lee, and I was like one of those school kids taking a picture from a distance, but I didn't go up to him and say hello and say I appreciate your work, and and I guess it makes you get past that and say, hey, you know what, pay homage. Even if he hears it 1,000 times, at least I got it out of my system. At least what I'm saying. So there's a lot more information on there. I know you can go to Newsarama, you can go to The Beat, you can go to Publishers Weekly. I mean, it's all over the place. So just type in Arnold Drake and find out more. So on another note, conventions. We got the Pittsburgh Comic-Con coming up. Are you
That's
ready?
big.
Are you ready for that?
That's going to be pretty big, I think. We usually go out there, and we do pretty well. We do pretty well out there, and make a lot of great connections. The Pittsburgh, what I find, is a funny convention, because you could have a down day the first day, and right when you're like, there's nothing that's going to happen here, the next day, the floodgates open. And then maybe the following day.
Are you talking dollars and cents again? There you go with the business.
I'm not talking about
There you
dollars
go.
and cents.
There
I'm
you go.
I'm just
Business.
talking about meeting people, making connections. I'm talking about flow of traffic in the convention.
Really?
The first day could be dead, and then the second day,
Just
you're
don't
meeting people
just
and
don't eat the
coming up
burgers
to
in
the-
Pittsburgh. I'm telling you right now.
No?
Don't eat the burgers.
Oh yeah, don't.
No. I was a victim to.
Don't do it to yourself.
Yeah,
Don't do it to yourself.
almost killed me.
I thought we was gonna lose the owner. I called George. I said, "This cat dying. You gotta hear this." Oh, you hear? Ooh.
That's all you heard.
I'm knocking on the door, checking every. You okay? Said.
It was coming out of everywhere. It was gross. It was just disgusting. I mean, I was dead. But it was horrible.
I was worrying because
I was downing my Lanta, Pepto-Bismol.
Because Sam had the gas money to get back home.
Malax.
So I wouldn't want to be stuck in all those kids. I was worried about it.
But the good thing about it is that we're staying at the same hotel. Is it the Regency? I think it is. That's the hotel that it's in. So we're staying at the same hotel that has the event of the Pittsburgh Comic-Con. And we have a small press booth, so we'll be there, and it's going to be pretty fun, and I'm excited about it. And, it's going to be a long drive. We're driving out there from New York. So we're going to catch up with a lot of friends and publishers and, have fun at night.
But Sam doesn't. We want to ask you a question, Sam. What is up with this license? Sam has been talking about getting a license. Sam never drives. We're always the one driving.
This is where someone's going to get punched.
What is going on with the license, man? What is this?
I'm going to bust you in the gut. Well, all right. If you're from New York City, then you know. I was born in New York City, right? And every girl I've dated had a car, right? And I'm in New York City. The train's right there, the bus is right there.
Is this going to be the pimpin'?
Yes, pimpin' ain't easy. Yeah, I'm sorry.
The pimpin' excuse
You
does
grew
not
up
work.
in New York. I'm telling you, you want to go down whatever, you get on the train. You get on the J train, you get on the F or the E, the R, whatever you need is right there. Bam. You need to get somewhere, get on the B-22 bus or whatever it is, and I never needed it. And every chick I dated, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call them chicks. Every female I dated.
Oh,
I know. I gotta be,
snaps.
Oh, snap. My fans, I'm losing fans. And, so I they all had vehicles, and I didn't need to drive. And then, I got married, and my wife has a license, and I didn't need to drive. I'm like right here. I live in Union City, and don't come looking for me. I'll not break your neck. And so, and I just get on the little shuttle buses, boom, right into the tunnel. I'm in New York in 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I walk from Port Authority to work. I'm like 15 blocks away, and I'm like chilling. So I never needed it. I'm a great navigator. I'll tell you.
You were not a great navigator.
Yes, I am.
Sam is
You're just not a good listener. You're a reactive.
No,
listener.
let me tell you.
You're not a proactive.
Wait.
You're a reactive.
Wait, I gotta.
No, this
Sam
is it. I'm gonna explain to you. Let's hold on. Let's give him
if
the
you're
scenario.
Moving to Florida,
Let's give him the scenario.
You'll end up in Mexico.
Hold on. Let's give him the scenario. This is the scenario, right? We're all in the car, right? We're in a 4Runner, and in the back seat, this is what you hear.
I know.
And it's Annie Brown and
you,
George knocked out, right?
You'll say
it's midnight, and we're still trying to find our way to Pittsburgh. We already got pulled over by state troopers. We got beat up and roughed up and stuff by state troopers, and now we're still on the road trying to find it, right? Now we're in the truck lane. Jonathan decides to take the truck lanes, and those big 18-wheelers, they're going to run you over. It's crazy. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all right, I'm holding the map, and John's there, and John, we're holding it down. I said, I'm a trooper. I'm going to stay awake with you, John. We're going to make it. Them suckers in the back are sleeping. Knock them out when we get there. You know what? When we get there, we'll leave them in the car. We'll go to the hotel and go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? We'll roll the windows down. It's the middle of winter. Let these guys freeze while we go enjoy the hotel room, all right? Just stay on your side. I'll stay on my side. So this is what we do. We get up, we're driving, all right? And, we're trying to survive the 18-wheelers. And I'm like, all right, John, the next exit, exit 22, that's what you're going to take. And now I'm saying this about a mile away. Half a mile later, remember exit 22. I got it.
No way.
So next
He's saying it by the
now
time
he's accelerating.
He's
accelerating, right?
No, he's like exit 22.
I was like, and then I see it, and I was like, yo, John, I told you exit 22, but you told me too late. I said, no, but I told you a mile down. But you're supposed to tell me.
He tells me
this is
a block back.
No, a block.
We're like, he's like, oh, John, that's a 22 room.
And then I say exit, what I'm saying? Exit is on your right, right? So I say, we're a mile away. I said, yo, John, exit 22, you're going to get off. But he still stays on the far left lane.
He does not tell me it's right.
We're 4 lanes away from there, so you think we got a mile to get to that lane.
He tells me, yo.
We have a mile to get to that
Sam
lane.
has an idea dude, that we could, wait. Sam has the strangest idea that we could press a button and the car just comes straight up and floats across the highway. I don't know what car Sam ever drove, but most cars have to have a clear lane to get over 4 lanes. No, the cars that I drive.
I give plenty of
he
opportunity.
Does not, people.
But Jonathan is like driving Miss Daisy. When he takes those turns on those exits, you can crawl faster than he makes those turns. I mean, right now there's no traffic on the highway until Jonathan goes for an exit, and then he's like, hold on, listen. This is us. He's like, and I'm like, yo, there's something wrong with the car? No. Are you sure we don't have a fire or something?
Speed.
No. Then I look. We have backup 2 states long.
I do not speed.
One exit.
I used to have a perfect license. I'm not going to get into it, but I used to have a perfect license.
I gotta go get into the hit and runs or anything like that.
Okay. Because I follow the rules.
Follow the yellow road.
I am a very careful driver. Meanwhile, George is like thinking he's a demolition derbyist.
George is
doing everything but cut lanes.
George is one of those terrorist drivers. I mean, George does not drive like a human being. He drives like a New York City cab driver. And
he does his own thing. I mean, every time we drive cross state with George, we get pulled over by state troopers. We do get in trouble
because
I don't know what it is.
he takes broken U-turns, illegal turns. I mean, he doesn't use his blinkers, and he's running people off the road. And I'm telling you, when you're driving with George, you want 7 seat belts and a 2-ton slab on your lap, so you won't fly out the window because this guy's a kamikaze. He's just nuts. He's not human.
So,
and then John is the dramatic opposite, where you can walk and get there faster than you will with John.
If there's a stop sign, maybe it's me, but I figure, hey, you gotta stop.
You know what I'm saying? But you stop.
If you
stop 10 blocks before you see the stop sign.
You gotta stop. Didn't you take? Oh no, you didn't take the driving test. When you take the driving test, You have to stop before the stop sign.
Oh.
You got to ease out beyond the stop sign, and you got to stop again to clear your blind spot.
Yeah.
Now, Sam does not know about blind spots,
Yeah, I do.
but
When I hit you, you're
you're
going to
supposed to check your blind spot. Your right mirror has a blind spot.
Yeah.
All people that drive, back me up on this.
Old people.
All the people that drive, back
Said
me up on
old
this.
people, back me up. That's messed up.
Look,
That's oldism.
why
That's oldism.
That's why George is going to be driving. Oh, I shouldn't say that on air. Okay, George is not going to be driving. For all the cops, any cops listening, George is not going to be driving.
Hey, I tell you right now, Trooper.
David is going to be driving.
Trooper, I'm always in the passenger seat on the front. Please do not draw your weapon on me. I'm on your side. I will hold him in a headlock. You can shoot him as much as you want, but do not draw your weapon on me. Please, State Trooper, please. All right? Because that one guy came over with his guns drawn, and I have a comic book in my hand. I'm like, dude, what am I going to do to you with this comic book? I said, would you relax? I said, what caused you to go for your gun? What did I do? Did I sneeze? Was it something I said? Did you hear me from 2 miles down? I said, what's up with that? He's like, hey, let me slay your hands. He's like, hands for it now, mister. I'm like, oh, snaps. I'm sorry, Officer Sir. Please forgive me. I know not what I do.
And they blame me.
They blame you. That's right. I was like, yo, come on. State Trooper pulls us over. You got 3 Mexicans and a brother in the car. They're like,
They blame me. That's what I'm saying.
These guys are about to perform some sort of hijack. I don't know. So, it was just crazy. And I was like, yo, he goes, where you fellas off to? I was like, a comic book convention. You want one? I made it myself. Here for you. And
then he followed us, remember? I had to take the wheel, and he followed us until we left the station.
Because George's license expired.
Oh, yeah, he didn't.
And his license expired.
And then the registration.
And the registration expired.
It was a wrap.
So he's like, are you a Mexican or a Mexican? He's like, get your rear in gear. He said,
I thought we'd be on like Bad Boys.
Yeah, he said, get out the car. Everybody out the car. I said, oh, we're going to get lynched right here in broad daylight. We're dead. We're dead. He's going to lynch us. I saw him.
We're going to get shot on the shoulder.
I saw his partner in the back getting roped. I was like, oh, they're going to hang me.
It was about some swamp water thing or something.
I was like, no, George.
Like water on the
I was ready to pulverize George. I said, before you hang me, sir, can I kick his ass? I said, because I'm not going out like this. I need to fight somebody, and I'm going to fight you because you're kind of big and you have a gun. So let me beat him. And he says, get out the car.
And then he says, this is the funny part. He looks at it, he says, did you didn't know that this was a spy. You didn't know this. He said, yeah, I was getting around to it. He goes, this is 7 months of getting around to it. 7 months of getting around to it.
He's like, I'm sorry, give me a chance, man. I forgot to pay the bill.
So it was a wrap. I thought we were dead. I thought we'd never make it to
so
Pittsburgh.
then he goes, you got your license? I said, I got a license to draw.
Yeah, Sam's no help. No help whatsoever.
I said, negative. And he goes, how about you, funny looking guy? And John's like, I got a license. He goes, all right, you get in the front. He goes, I'll either take your car or you get in the front and you drive. You sit in the back and I'll be watching you. I'll be watching you, boy. I was like, oh, so then John
followed us all the way out.
He followed us 2 counties.
2 counties. He was not playing. He was like, y'all better get out of Dodge.
Yo, they had helicopters. They marked the hood of the car.
They had people coming down on lines of rope from helicopters.
It was horrible.
It was
horrible.
So
it was but the other time when George we got off on the wrong exit and George made a broad turn. And we pull up into a gas station because we're going to ask the guy at the gas station how to get to where we were going. I think we were Pennsylvania. And boop, boop. And here comes the state trooper. He blocks us. We're parked. We just parked and he went right into the rear of the car, blocked us sideways and comes out. Everybody out the vehicle now. I'm like, oh, damn. George did it again.
Man, what happened?
He goes, it's not my fault, man. I was coming to ask for directions, man.
Yeah, it wasn't even for the broken U-turn. Like, it was like a...
It was for the broken U-turn.
Oh, it was for the broken...
He goes, you boys ain't around here from here, aren't you? I said, nope. He goes, where you headed? Comic book convention. He looked at me. He's like, "No one gave me that." You know, he never heard that excuse in his life.
Yeah, it's the first time. He was like,
I'm gonna have to believe that one.
yeah, that's real. I'm glad to go with
It
that
says,
one.
he goes, "All right, get your ass out of my town." And we're like, "Oh, yes, sir, officer." And, it was sad. It was sad. It was horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh is gonna be big. See, that's kind of a funny convention, man. Weird stuff happening.
Oh, yeah.
You just can't call
Considering
that
they only have one club in the entire city of Pittsburgh, it's disgusting. And
Which we didn't go. I wanted to go.
I didn't want to go because everybody's there, and the line is like 5 blocks down because it's the only club. So they're like rotating people. It's just
That's true. You come in the front door, you leave out the back door.
Yeah. So as soon as you get in, you're dancing through the crowd, and you get to the end, and you're right out.
You're dancing through the exit.
Let's go do it again. It's like a ride. You got 15 minutes. Grab your drink, dance, and get out.
That's it.
Oh man,
So,
you paid $20 for 15 minutes. That shit's sad.
That
was
is
sad.
funny.
They got Hooters, and the Hooters girls are hot.
that's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
I was focusing on the chicken wings. I
Yeah,
didn't
chicken
I didn't want to get no
Cause you
trouble.
got
I didn't
it.
want to act up. So
You don't act up. You don't act up.
act up.
Say it.
So
Anyway, so that's what's gonna happen. That we got to look forward to for Pittsburgh, and I am Sam the Crazy Man Vera. Oh snaps!
excuse me, I was drinking some soda. I apologize. And this is Jonathan, the Psycho Sci-Fact.
And we are the world.
Yes.
We are the future. Anyway, so we out, and we're coming up.
And I guess I guess if I'm late for work, this kills my excuse.
There you go.
I can't tell them I got caught in traffic.
It's
over.
You're just nuts, brother. You're just nuts.
It's over.
And we'll be back after this with Ryan McLelland.
All right.
Peace.
Do you like comics? Well, so do we. The Comic Book Novice. Each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 1240 WGBB and AM 1240 WGBB.com. Join comic book creator Mark Torres and his panel as they examine the current state of the comic book industry and interview professionals from the comic book field. That's the Comic Book Novice. Every Thursday night at 9 p.m. here on 1240 AM WGBB and AM 1240 WGBB.com.
In case you haven't heard, the 4th year of Small Press Idol has started over at the Dime Store site. Projects have begun being posted and judged, but it's not too late to join the contest if you're up to it. Projects are being accepted this year through March 25th, so you have until then to get something in and see if you can be voted on to round 2, when the public voting will begin. The URL you want to go to is www.dimestore.productions.com/smallpress idol/idol07/index.html to read the guidelines and get the links to new projects as they get posted.
There's an alien in my toilet.
Oh, hey, nah, I'm just doing a little comic book shopping.
Interesting choice.
Nah, this is for my son. I'm trying to get him to read more in this independent comic book company called Crazy Comics.
Crazy Comics. Yeah, I've heard of them. They have titles like Cosmic Wars and Rush 5377.
Yeah, and a title called Forbidden, but that's for me. Anyway, the great thing about this company is that they make a conscious effort to promote reading for kids. Yet their stories are so smart and funny that even an adult can enjoy them.
I know what you mean.
Just look at the back of this book. A glossary of terms and cool questions about the solar system.
I'm sold. There's an alien in my toilet. Hey, get over here. You just took the last one.
Sorry, but don't worry. You can go online at crazycomics.com. They have an eBay store you can buy all types of cool stuff from comics to t-shirts. See you later and catch the craze. 2 years after Duty's first trip to Earth. Location, Laboria. Haven to smugglers, heroes, and others.
It was amazing. I mean, they unleashed an entire arsenal at me. A futile attempt.
You don't say.
There was a lone soldier.
A soldier? Wow.
Mr. Gorf, I understand you may be a hero in some sectors. Need I remind you, you are in the company of a superior intellect and should never disrupt one while in the midst of a statement.
You are correct. I apologize. Please, continue.
Where was I? Oh, yes. There was a lone soldier, outnumbered and surrounded. They came from the air, the sea, the land!
To find out what happens next in
Hi, I'm Duty from Uranus.
visit crazycomics.com for all of your Duty adventures.
We're back with Catch the Craze podcast. I am Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and again, we have a special guest on the show. His name is Ryan McLelland. He is a staff writer at Newsarama and a writer of a new series called Philly. What's going on, Brian?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Let's take it back in time. Let's go back. Where are you from?
I'm from Trenton, New Jersey. The hop, skip, and a jump from Philadelphia and New York City. Kind of snapped that in the middle of Jersey.
Right. So what's it like growing up in Trenton?
Trenton's really small, and even like the suburbs area, it's the kind of place where everyone knows everybody. And I just moved back into the area recently, and it's funny that I'll go out to a bar and meet someone from kindergarten, or I'll go out to the supermarket and I'll meet someone from college. So it's kind of an environment where it's nice, where it's a city in the suburbs, but you still have that feeling that you know everybody.
Right.
It's cool.
So you said you recently moved back. Where'd you go from there?
Prior to that, I was in another place in Jersey, Mercerville, and before that I was living down in Georgia for the military.
Okay, so what branch?
I was Army National Guard. I was in the Signal Corps, and I was in the military for 13 years, and I just recently got out in May. I got out as a first lieutenant. Wow.
So what was that experience like? What made you decide you wanted to go into the military?
I was broke. My mom had no money. She worked like 14 jobs. Like she was like the garbage lady, the maid. She worked like 9 to 5, 6 to 12. So when it came to wanting to go to college, like I had no money. So I joined the military, learned how to shoot things, and got an education for free. And then just kept on with it because it was fun, you know. Nothing beats getting paid to run around.
Right. Now, did you have to do any active time?
Somewhat, but not like over in Iraq. I got to go to the Panama, like the middle of the jungle.
Right.
And I got bit by a scorpion, and I got to meet Sean Connery, so it kind of equaled out there.
Must have been painful.
It was cool, yeah, it was cool. The military, it gave me a lot of nice, like, values. So it's the kind of thing that allows me to persevere in life, the kind of stuff that I learned through the military.
Right. Now, you have basically established yourself as a writer in the industry. Have you been writing ever since you were a child?
Yes. I was that guy back in the day who used to run around with his friends at the video camera.
Right.
And write stupid scripts, and people used to look at me like, what are you doing? Like, I can't, like people used to look at me and I go, I was nuts. And back then it was just like fun, you know, to sit down and write little skits and run around town filming stuff. And like I was that kid with the cable access show. I was the kid with the funny little comic strip that you passed around high school.
Right.
And then as things went on, like I went to college, I kind of stopped drawing. Like I was doing like a weekly strip in the college newspaper. And I basically stopped then, kind of stopped writing articles, and I kind of went to screenplays. Unsuccessfully, but in the end, the screenplays led me into writing for Newsarama, so that was nice. So as one door closed, another one like opened quickly and brought me to places I never thought I'd be.
Right. So now, growing up, I mean, were you a comic book fan?
Yeah. My first memory is buying a comic book. I don't know if that's sad or not, but my pops bought me a Marvel Gunfighters #3.
Right.
Looking back, I must have bought it in '78, but the actual copyrights from like '72.
Wow.
So it must have been on shelves for a long time. But hey, it was like fate. So that's like the first thing I remember actually of my life is buying a Marvel comic book, and I've been a fan ever since.
Wow.
I was a big Chris Star, G.I. Joe, Transformers, X-Men, Spidey, growing up as a kid. And when I was a kid, like back in '86, I was 11 years old. That's when Crisis happened. So it was pretty cool at that point to jump on and have issue ones of like Superman, The Flash, Wonder Woman. Like it was one of those things where I kind of felt like I was there for it.
Right, right. So now when you're picking up these books, did you ever try your hand at writing your own comic book when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, yeah. Like I used to draw like little corny things, or like I'd fold a piece of paper together and make superhero comics that I would never show anybody. Or in high school, I would like take a single sheet of paper and put it in the blocks and draw adventures of people in school.
Right.
And people thought they were funny, or people thought I was stupid. So
Right.
people were laughing at me or with me. But like, it never mattered to me. As long as people were reading my stuff, like, even then I realized that if people were reading it, it didn't matter if they hated me or loved me, as long as they were reading my stuff. So
Right.
it was nice to figure that out early in life.
Right. So now, have you attended any comic book conventions prior to actually becoming a staff writer for Newsarama?
And I, like, done...
Like, have you ever, like, gone to conventions, comic book conventions, prior to even becoming a staff writer?
Sure. I'd go to them all the time. And I loved the quarter bin. Like, even before I became the guy known for doing it came from the quarter bin. Like, I was that guy rummaging through and buying Valiants and Ultraverses and the New Universe and all the stuff that people never wanted, like, I loved. And,
right.
And that's probably what helped me get into the industry, was being, you know, a big love of going to conventions and buying all these cheap comics. And that's what ended up allowing me to write for Newsarama. My first article that I ever sold was one on the Ultraverse. And what led me to get to that point was I went to a nickel sale and I bought the entire Ultraverse collection and said, hey, there's no one out there on the internet that has written about this yet or in any kind of press. So I started doing interviews by myself.
Right.
And ended up selling that article and kind of moved on from then. But
right.
I love the shows. You know, there's nothing better nowadays than going to a show and meeting people and, you know, just looking at their comic, talking about their comic, and seeing, like, the passion in their eyes, especially, like, indie creators.
Yes.
Even crazy comics, you know? Like, I got at you guys, first off, probably last year at the New York Con for the first time.
Right.
And it was great. You know, you guys have a great product, and, you know, you're like, here, let's look at the books, and I think I even reviewed one, which is The Alien from the Toilet.
Yes.
You know, and, you know, for me, it's great to be able to go out and meet people and find their books and find great stuff like that because, especially in this area, it allows me to see things and get things that people might have never heard of before.
Right, exactly. Especially in the small press community where, I mean, the competition is that much greater and the controversy behind small press, you know, is there, so they don't really get that kind of, you know, exposure. So
exactly.
You know, so I think what you're doing, and you know, is a great thing for the industry.
Thanks.
So, how did you come across Newsarama? How did that marriage start?
When I wrote that article on the Ultraverse, I started sending my stuff out to everybody, and I think at first I sent it off to Wizard, and they said no, and I sent it off to Newsarama, and they said yes, and they're like, we're going to pay you this, and I'm like, you're going to pay me? Like, great. Super. Just send me the check. I don't care how much it was.
Right.
So that's kind of how I ended up there at Newsarama. Was I never even heard of them before, and already then they had a reputation of being like the place to go.
Right.
Comic book news. But I was just some guy like, woohoo! I'm getting a check in the mail, and it was afterwards that everyone's like, yeah, dude, Newsarama is a big thing, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, they just asked me to write more articles, so whatever.
So now
it was a marriage that came really quickly, but it kind of fit really well.
Right. So how did I didn't mean to cut you up, but how did that came for the quarter bin come about?
That was the quarter bit I had come up with again for Wizard, like trying to break into Wizard, and I came up with the columns, and I had it was a different title, but I had sent it to them, and they said no. And as I was writing for Newsarama, one day I went to my editor, who's Matt Brady, and I said, you know what, I have this column that I think would be good. You know, we do it once a week, and I showed it to him. He was like, great, you know, just keep writing them. And I guess that's 3 years ago now. You know, I've been doing that once a week nearly for 3 years.
Wow.
For my my time when I was away in the military, which is probably about 5 months, 6 months down in Georgia, I've been writing that nonstop.
Outstanding. Now, do you ever fear that you would run out of resources or information or things to pull from?
No. There's never going to be a shortage of cheap, bad comics, comics that people don't want. And I do read some stuff that I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I went out and bought this. I think the only killer of that's going to be that the quartered boxes are disappearing, and 50-cent boxes are being more prevalent, or even like the cheaper ones for $1, and that's a shame. But I think with the advent of the internet, you can go on eBay and buy a whole collection and buy, 15 comics for $3, and that works out to be a little better.
Right. So now let's go into this new project that you're working on called Philly. Who came up with the concept? Let's talk about that.
I had come up a few years ago with, me and my friends were sitting around, and I'm like, what if we became superheroes? And so I just started throwing out ideas just to make my friends laugh. Me being the pushy guy, like I would be the leader, and like I would be the guy adamant about going out and fighting crime.
Right.
My one friend he's like a slacker, so I'm like, if you got super speed, but you're a lazy bum, like would you get up to fight crime? Would you get up to go to the refrigerator and come back to the couch? It would take you a millisecond, but if you're a slacker, you don't want to get off the couch.
Right.
Even with super speed, like, it's still too difficult to get up and run to the refrigerator and run back. And my other friends are drunk, so I said, hey, if you got fire powers and you drank more, your powers will become better, but then you're showing up to places drunk.
Right.
And so it kind of started out from there. And when Marvel had started Epic up again, the imprint that Bill Jemas tried to make big,
right.
I was like, hey, I could really do this. I could sit down and write a comic book about these guys and put them in the Marvel Universe. And I'm sure everyone and their grandmother wanted to do an epic book.
Right.
But as I was starting to develop the first issue, it came across that, okay, we're canceling the line. We're not publishing any of the books. And at that time, they had books by, like, Kirkman. They were just sitting around. Of course, that's before Rob had really started at Marvel.
Right.
He's not the big guy he is now, but they had his book sitting there lying. So, for me, I was just like, wow. And I was a fan of Rob since, I guess going back to Battle Pope, and for me, I was amazed that they were going to put that on the shelf. So
right.
That idea just kind of sat around until I met my penciler, Jim Hanna, and he just gelled with the project. He started doing up sketches, and I'm like, you have this down. And we were like, forget it. It's just, we'll find someone to ink it, color, and we'll send it off. And I remember I sent it off to two places. Again, I sent it off to Image. They're like, no. I sent it off to Arcana, and I'm like, yes. And that was as far as we had to go.
Nice. So now let's talk about the name itself. What was the process behind the title?
Philly, well, the whole book is based about this team, the trio. But I didn't want to call it the trio because I wanted the city to kind of fall under the center of attention as well. Because as the book is about the superhero team, it's also about a cop that the heroes kind of align themselves with, and about a vigilante that they also partner with from time to time. And I thought of Philly, it's just, I don't know, I thought it worked better than the trio, and I thought it kind of put it center stage, and I wasn't really worried about detracting people just by the name. Like, you're not detracted from watching, CSI Miami because it said of Miami. So I didn't worry about detracting people by calling it Philly. I just thought it sounded good. Right. And being from the Philly area, I thought I'd give some local pride and name my book that.
Right. So now your first book is debuting in April.
In April, the end of April.
Right. And so for listeners out there who are first hearing about this and looking at the advertisements about it, is this going to be a one-shot, a limited series, an ongoing series?
Right now it's just 4 issues, with maybe a 5th issue, it depending on, I guess, how sales are. And we have some great people came aboard. Sean Paul Mavinga did an alternate cover to number 1. Murat Michaels, who did X-Force Shatter Shot for Marvel.
Right.
He's the old Rob Liefeld protege. He came aboard to do the issue 3 cover. And Kerry Randolph, who does Spawn, he's doing the cover to issue 4.
Okay.
We got some nice guys that came aboard to do some covers for it, and it'll be going bi-monthly starting, I think April 25th is the first issue. It hits the stands, and coming out every other month from there. And it's a great introduction, It's the book, I kind of describe it as, like, they're kind of like the Hardy Boys of superheroes. Like, they don't kind of go straight into a fight. They sort of research what's going on before actually jumping in and fighting a supervillain, and they're kind of conscientious about what's going on within the city.
Right.
But again, they're not a great superhero team. They're not like the Avengers in New York, where you go to battle in New York and you have to worry about Captain America and Iron Man, and like the best of the best showing up. These guys are in Philly, and they're not really great at their job. The supervillains sometimes mop the floor with them, and when they win, it's sometimes because they got lucky, more than they have the skill.
Right. Right. So now, how did you meet up with Arcana?
That was just, when I was pitching out the book, and I said, who out there is good to publish a superhero book? And that's to anybody who wants to be a writer and wants to send out their stuff. They have to know their audience,
right?
Know exactly who they're pitching to. I wouldn't have taken this book and went to Antarctica and said, hey, publish this book. They're more of the manga. They're more of like an indie feel, like the box office Poison. So when I was thinking of where to publish it, a few names came into my mind straight away. Image, Devil's Due, Arcana, or Ape Entertainment. And so when we put out the pitch, we put together 5 pages, put together a cover, a synopsis, and again, we sent stuff out. And by the time I got a response back, when Image said no and Arcana said yes, I had even bought postage for the stuff I was mailing out. That yes from Arcana came from an email. Like, I sent an email to them, they sent an email back. They're like, we're sending you the contracts, we're going to do it, let's go.
Nice.
So that was nice. And the rest of the other stuff I had sitting around, I'm like, all right, I had to rip everything up and say, well, no one else got a chance to it. Oh, well.
There you go. So now this is slated for full cover, full color?
Yeah, it's full color. Each issue is 24 pages. We have a bonus story that might be popping up around issue 3 or issue 4, and we might have another side story written by someone really famous, but I shouldn't really get into that. We have someone who might come aboard to do a short story who hasn't written in the industry for a while, but I guess that's all I'll say about that for right now.
Right, right. So now, what will the readers take away from the introductory issue, the first issue?
They're going to get, they'll get the lay of the land. They'll get a lay of these superheroes, and what they'll really take away from it is how the heroes interact with each other. And again, I didn't want to have this where it's just like they're all showing up and they're fighting crime together and they think what they think about themselves later. These guys will be right in the middle of a fight and arguing with each other.
Right.
And so they'll really get the dynamic between these guys, the police, and how they interact with them, and what's going on with the story, which is a splash of like a ring of murders that have been happening, and the cops are getting killed, and so they're brought in to help investigate with this because they believe that these crimes are like powers-based. So they bring in the trio to help them solve this crime, and end up, trying to figure out who's doing these murders, and plus a whole different plot that comes into play. So it's issue 1 is a great introduction to it, but it's definitely not an origin story. You kind of just jump into the world,
right,
without having anything explained for you. And I figured I'd rather do it that way, and if it catches on, then I'll tell the origin. If everyone hates it, then no one really cared about the origin.
Yeah. I mean, I was reading through the PDF. I mean, you got some great one-liners in there. The art is really great. The coloring is great. I mean, I think it looks really good. I
got to give props to my artist, Jim Hanna. He has a great... If you're a comic fan and you like Humberto Ramos or Joe Madureira, then you'll like this book because Jim emulates their style. He doesn't copy it by any means. He very has his own style, but fans of Ramos or Joe Mad will definitely like the art in this book. And
yeah, they will. They will. So now, what do you hope will happen once the series is launched? After the series is over, what are you looking to do? Is there anything that you're working on that's going for long term?
I would love to see this continue. I love the characters, and I think there's a whole bunch of stories I could tell with them without getting bored.
Right.
Until then, I'm working on a bunch of other things. I'm working on a short story for Grunts, which is Shannon Denton's book he does for Arcana. I just finished a Dr. Oblivion backup that's going to go in their trade paperback. It's another great book that's put out. It's an indie book. And I'm just doing a lot of writing for other people. I figured that after all this of just trying to get it all together for Philly, because it's rough. It's not like you're working for Marvel and you sit around at a big table discussing things.
Right.
For Philly, it's really me being like the writer and the creator and being the director and the producer. And I'm more like that guy. What's the name of that guy for the orchestra with the little baton thing?
Who?
The conductor.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like the conductor. Wow, I just made myself sound really dumb over there. But it's rough. It's rough trying to be like send it to the inker, send it to the colorist, send it to the letterer, send it to the editor-in-chief. Like, I'm doing all that stuff. And so now that, like, this Philly's going on, it's not to sit back and people are like, hey, you want to write this? And I'm like, sure. So it's a lot nicer to sit back and at least write other people's characters for a while.
Right. So now what's your 5-year plan?
My what? My 5-year plan?
Yeah.
I'm going to sell my next comic book off to Hollywood for billions, and I'm going to sit in my Palatial Park Avenue mansion and chill. I don't know, to be honest. I really think that in the next 5 years, I just want to continue writing about comic books. Ultimately, I would love to do some sort of indie magazine, sort of like Philly Edge. I mean, Wizard Edge.
Right.
But something that comes out monthly, and I'd love to do something, being the staunch and adamant indie comic person out there. I would love to do a monthly magazine where it's more focused on indie stuff rather than Marvel and DC. And you could kind of include Image being there and sort of indie, but getting anything from Crazy Comics to Arcana to Devil's Due to anything out there that's someone might have stapled together and giving them their due as well.
That's outstanding.
So I would love to do that. Keep writing Philly, and again, mansion, Park Avenue, really high up in the penthouse would be nice.
Exactly. So now, what advice would you give to an aspiring writer trying to break into this business?
Keep a hard shell to you, and just keep writing. I started when I was about 20 years old writing, and I never really took English classes, so what I had learned was basically from reading, and, I read a lot, and so when I started out, I just got rejection after rejection. I have a big book of rejections, that I call it, that has probably about 400 rejection letters. I was trying to break into movies, and screenwriting was hard, and when I got a call that was like, yes, we want to look at your screenplay, it's hard to get excited because eventually what comes back is it's not right for us, or we don't want to represent this. And so writers have to have a hard skin, and when they don't break in the first time or maybe even the 100th time, they just got to maybe look and say, maybe this isn't the right project, maybe I got to write something different, and, just keep at it. I just sit down and write sometimes just to write, and no one ever sees what I write. It's just I just do it to exercise.
Right.
And eventually, something you'll write might hit a key with somebody. And that's what happened with me, and I've enjoyed the past 5 years of being successful, or quasi-successful at least.
Right.
And it's been a nice run of me having, I don't have a famous face by any means, but I have a semi-famous name now.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to go out and have people be excited to meet me. And it still boggles my mind that anyone wants to talk to me, but it's nice to be able to go, like I said, go to comic shows and just meet creators and like, wow, you're the guy who writes your Indie Weekly for Newsarama, and it's like, let me see your book. And I'd be glad to reveal it, because in today's day and age, I think indie comics are the future. So
yeah, I agree 100%. I agree. So now you said something about you read a lot of books. What were some of the books that interested you? What were some of the mediums?
Within the medium, that I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
I love Strangers in Paradise. I know it's probably every indie comic guy's or gal's book, but when I first read that, and that was probably about 10 years ago, back in 1996, they were well on their way. But the whole storyline in Strangers in Paradise just zonked me, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And it was incredible writing and incredible artwork. And, Ultimate Spider-Man, I dig that. Some people don't dig the writing, but I love Bendis. I love his work. And Teen Titans, the new one that's out now with Jeff Johns, I like.
Right. Now, what about outside? Like, what are some of the books that you've read that are not comic book related?
Like book-wise?
Yeah.
I'm a big, Kerouac fan. I love anything by Elmore Leonard or anything by Robert Asprin, the sci-fi writer, the whole Myth series.
Right.
Which actually Phil Foglio drew a comic strip back in the 80s, a comic book for the Myth books, but I love that entire series, and I'm really glad that came back now in the the 2000 era. Came back and did more books, but that's my big thing. I'm currently reading the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Nice. So
I like more of biography stuff. That's the kind of stuff I sit down and watch on TV.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff I love reading. So you usually find me nose deep in a biography from anyone from like Bruce Lee to William Randolph Hearst. That's what's interesting to me. But Elmore Leonard, if anyone out there wants something to read, like you won't get any better than him, or Carl Hyacin, or James Patterson.
Nice.
Guy does the Alex Cross books.
Nice. So now that you're a creator of a product, what events will you be doing? Are you going to be doing any conventions this year?
I will probably be at SPX. It is a show that I absolutely love. I've done it these past 3 years. My first year, I was there just doing Newsarama stuff, and I was there on a panel for how indie creators can get their book out there in the market. And so that's like the SPX is like the convention to go to.
Nice.
For me. Other than that, I might be at San Diego, and I might be at Wizard World Philly, but it's hard for me to kind of sit behind a table.
Right.
With the book being out from Arcana, you might find me there at their table signing.
Right.
But other than that, I'm such the reporter, or I'm such like the junkie for comic books, that I'm more comfortable being out there and talking to people and meeting people and finding new books rather than being behind a table the whole time trying to schlock my wares.
Right. So now if people want to find out more about Philly, where can they go?
You can go to myspace.com/PhillyTheComic, all one word. And, that's our main site right now. There's also RyanMcLelland.com, which is McLelland.com. But the MySpace page is nice. We have, previews of the covers and the artwork. We had a trailer done by Matt Swift, who was the guy who did the manga Witchblade trailer.
Right.
So that's available there on the site. And it's a great page. That's where we all put our information of what's going on. And you can go there, or ArcanaStudio.com, our publisher, and they have a bunch of Philly stuff there as well.
Outstanding. Any final statements you want to make and share with the public?
Just go out and if you want something different, you'll definitely notice us on the stands. We have a nice alternate cover and the regular cover, but it's bright, it's superheroes, and it's going to be very hard to miss it. So so give it a try if you like superheroes. Like you said, it says some nice writing, some nice one-liners, and it's worth it. At least issue 1. If you hate it, just rip it up and send it back to me. I'll make confetti.
No, I think it's worth it, and we enjoyed it here when we were reading it in the studio.
That's great.
Thank you, Ryan, for being on Catch the Craze.
Thanks so much, man. Catch the Craze. I love you guys, and everyone should be listening. And if you're listening now, then you already know. If not, tell your friends.
Outstanding.
Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you later.
Philip Clark, Dream Child Press. You're watching Catch the Craze podcast.
That's what I'm Wonder Activation, and you're watching Catch the Craze. And you're watching Catch the Craze podcast.
Why are writers, publishers, artists, animators, and musicians running to Catch the Craze podcast audio mix? Because we deliver each week, all the time, on time. A show dedicated to the small guy. Visit us online at www.catchthecraze.com for more information, or download us through iTunes. See you later, baby. We are the heart of the industry. Catch the Craze.
Show people! Watch the show, man! Watch the show!